Yeah, it's that button again. Cool button. We always like it. Anyway, welcome back, CJTV. We got everything rocking and rolling. Getting a few things sorted out. Making sure everything's running good. We're live on X, Rumble, Kick, YouTube on Friday. We got the chats open. Chats are open. Comments are open. Leave comments. It's Friday, the 13th, the day before the day of the gifts, the love, the joy, you're the best part of my life, romantic voices of sometimes those that are stuck in a situation or they're a little bit too scared to get out of the situation, the tether, the invisible one. Why people stay in crappy environments, crappy relationships. And we're not talking about, the physical, you got hit in the head with a frying pan or a shovel. Nothing like a, horror movie. Nothing like a rider that gets, held captive and legs nailed to the bed. We're not talking about that. We're talking about psychological, the invisible tether. But before we get started, researchers for this fantastic show, Zian, Dylan, Chloe, all up here. We got other researchers too. Trust me, believe me. But, we're kind of, doing the shifting around. What are you doing with the screen, man? What? Oh, you're moving it over. I got you. Okay, I see. Yeah. That's what happens when you have people here with, mitts on things. Anyway, it's that Valentine's Day. So, well, not today, tomorrow. But what not then a better day than to present this topic, why people do not leave. The love story, the unpacking paradox of the psychological abuse. Yeah, it's an unpacking paradox because it's hard to unpack it sometimes. For the focal point, it's a tether, the traumatic bond, the cycle of intermittent reinforcement. Why you're there, you're reinforcing why you're going to stay there. Think a lot like a slot machine. Yeah, you think a lot like a slot machine. You never win every time. It's the occasional win, but you keep pulling the lever, make it better, hoping it's going to get better, dropping the foundation in, dropping the nickel in, dropping the desire for a better outcome in. The nickel, the quarter, sometimes the golden dollar. And it's all going to roll inside and jingle around and fester until you put more into it. And then you're not going to win again. I just called the invisible tether. You're staying there. You recognize that there's something psychologically off kilter, ticked, broken, snapped, rusted so tight that it's rustier than a brake drum and it's not going to break free because you're stuck in the same scenario. According to research, this broken will, this tether to an environment of psychological damage, creates a powerful traumatic bond that one does not even understand or would argue against it of, being in their life, in their head, in their cerebral cortex, in their definition of their own emotional tie. You win, you lose. But in the moments that you win, the psychological abuse is minimal or it's so reduced that it makes liking the person, loving the person, tolerating the person easier. The abuser cycle, the kindness, the cruelty, it's just a shifting, revolving, episodic event. But the problem is it's an insanity, the definition of insanity. Doing something over and over that does not work or has not worked or there's no successful outcome or successful accomplishment that has ever been documented by you, not somebody else, but by you. The attachment, the styles, the bonds. So the attachment dependency, you're there, you're stuck. We all have ways we attach to people, period. You like them, they're cool. You fall in love with them, they're great. You tolerate them. It's kind of like the narcissist. Don't forget a narcissist part 2 coming up too tomorrow night. But you tolerate those person, the people, the crowds, society. I'm going to shut this off. All right, researchers, don't rise up and revolt. Don't rise up and revolt. And can we fix this thing over our freaking head? Hold on. If you're not going to do it, I'm going to do it. Excuse me. This is like a pet peeve here. Yes, look at that. Yeah, that's better, isn't it? Why are you shaking your head at me? Yeah, it's the attachment. So we all have different ways we attach ourselves to human beings. And an explanation, we as human beings We sometimes seek that security, that insecure attachment style. And that insecure attachment style, that secure attachment style may actually feel more simplistically safe than the chaotic relationship itself. How is that so? You're rationalizing the security in staying where you're at. It's kind of like the law enforcement officers that respond to a domestic violence call and they hear, "Don't arrest them. I love them. It's okay. They didn't mean it. He didn't mean it. She didn't mean it." And then the spectacular incident starts. The identification of the primary aggressor now has turned into two primary aggressors, and the victim is now the one that's a primary aggressor against law enforcement because rationally the victim, who is becoming a primary aggressor in the means of aiding and resisting arrest, is now a chaos relationship companion with the one that is the deliverer, the aggressor of psychological abuse. Now, we're not really focusing on physical abuse here, okay? We're talking about psychological. Bad relationships, why people stay. The anxious attachment. Human beings make terrified choices. And the anxious attachment conflicts with one being alone. Alone. Think of the zombie apocalypse. You're by yourself. What, are you going to talk to a cheese sandwich? You're going to talk to a mouse, a tree? Well, some people could. But it's a joke. Stop shaking your head. Are you going to talk to an inanimate object? That anxious attachment of not being alone. People are so fearful of being cut loose, left alone, out of the cycle of the environment or the sociological aspect that they're in, that the one person that is the psychological abuser or the verbal abuser convinces the victim that no self-worth, no value to society, no friends, even the psychological control of, I don't want you to have any male friends, or I don't want you to have any female friends, or you're not going to get a job because I need you here. The psychological, the economic, it's all a anxious anxiety attachment. I'm going to be alone. The terrifying experience of now I'm going to have to start all over. No one's going to be here to care for me. So the toleration level begins. The toleration of abuse, psychological abuse, which, as we all would common sensely think, evolves. Once the resistance against the psychological abuse has been recognized, now it's the physical control. It's the more aggressive. It's the more narcissistic play from the abuser. The real victim is not the victim anymore. The psychological abuser, the narcissist, the one with the dissociation disorders, is now the victim, and they're going to make the victim feel as the aggressor. The anxious attachment. You're going to be alone, and I will leave you alone, and no one else will want you. Anybody ever heard that in your lifetime? Anybody ever seen that? Had friends that had to deal with that? Yeah. Yeah, guys, it's Comfy Friday, right? The old military organization shirts. Comfy Friday. The power. Yep. The strength, the power of the people, the power of love and hope. Yeah, love and hope. Love is a strong drug. Everybody's heard the heart wants what the heart wants. The heart's going to get it. The heart's going to do everything it has to influence the person. Well, that's not the heart, okay? That's the cerebral cortex. It's the hippocampus. It's the limbic system. You remembered what it was like being alone. You remembered the struggle. You remembered the pain, the torment of the separation, cutting the tether, stopping the slot machine, breaking the invisible tether, and getting rid of the chaotic, anxious attachment in your life. So the love, it's an emotional cerebral cortex. It's in the brain. Don't think that it's that heart flutter or that little, steps of little baby cats on your heart, pulling your heartstrings. No, it's the brain. It's kind of like, how did it start in the first place? Everybody's heard, oh, I like that person. I love them because they're intelligent. They treat me well. They're great. They're great conversations. They have great fashion style. They have great fashion style, like Dr. Gurley in a 3-piece suit in front of a whole bunch of people in an auditorium talking. Yeah, no, it's called eye candy up front. That's the start of it. It's kind of like that sugary slot machine. It's eye candy. It's the trigger. It's the attraction. It's the desire for the end result. This would be a good relationship. This would be a massive reason for me to stay in the future. That's a massive reason females stay with males that are psychologically abusive all the time. Why? Self-worth. Can't have a job. Can't have any freedom. And it is not singular from male to female. It is dual, female to male. Anyone know any males that fall into that category? I have to deal with the psychological verbiage, the psychological restrictors. It happens. It exists. Remember, the comments are open, the chats are open. So now that we know love is that powerful drug, victims often separate themselves from their abuser. Yeah, they do. Cognitively, in their mind, all right? It's the in the moment, not at the moment. In the moment at the expense of the past and what's coming in the future. But the present needs to be secure. It's that anxious attachment. You still do not want to be alone, but the fear of stepping forward and cutting the tether. So those that actually think about the separation, I love him, he has a problem, I love her, she has a problem, but it can be worked at, it can be corrected, it can be identified, it can be worked out. There can be a intervention. Yeah, well, that intervention is not always going to be as good as the victim would think, because the one that needs the intervention aspect is the one that's going to have to recognize the problem first. You can intervention all day long. You can indict Mickey Mouse. You can indict a ham sandwich. Got to convince the jury. You got to convince the one that needs the intervention that there is a psychological problem, dominance, power. And it's not all about the sexual attraction like people think, like a sex crime. It's about the dominance, the power, self-gratification. Even an impotent male can commit sexual assault. Self-gratification. I'm still in the moment. I'm still the guy. Let me touch this, touch that. And no one believes those victims because it's a person in the moment that society would believe that is incapable of doing something like this. So why not stay? The anxious attachment. No one's going to believe this is happening. So I must stay and drop more money into the invisible tether slot machine. It's one of those ruffian concurrences of the cognitive mind we have to deal with every day. Victims stay. They try to fix the relationship. They try to fix the environment that they're in. They try anything and everything. Well, I'll just do better. I'll conform to the relationship. Well, it's a relationship. Relationships. Two people. One's relationship, the other's relationship, combined relationships. Yeah. Plural, ships in the water together. Think of a battle group formation. Think of a Navy terminology. I can't think of a Navy terminology. I was in the military, but I didn't serve in the Navy. Nope, me and sharks do not get along. Especially off the Great Barrier Reef. Yep. Bull sharks. Emotional dependency. Yeah, over safety. When you realize you're someone that relies on someone for your emotional regulation, your emotional shift, your emotion of self-worth, well, that becomes a problem. That becomes an issue. That becomes an invisible tether again. That becomes the comfort. It's the biological hijack. The brain. One describes that the abuser becomes the source of both the fear and the comfort because of the verbiage or the linguistic value that the abuser is using to convince someone that you really still have feelings for them. It's just hidden. I know I've hurt you. I know if I've done things that are bad, but I love you and you still love me. Kind of reminds me of old school education, different schools of the gentleman rapist, the apologetic rapist, the gentleman sex offender, the lady sex offender. Yeah, lady sex offender. Females do it too. Yeah, I've arrested quite a few of those in my criminal investigation career. The majority of those were school teachers, though, believe it or not, with male students. Yep, school teachers. Junior high and high school. Never a middle school or below. It's always junior high and high school. All right, give me a hit. I'm going to adjust the mic a little bit. Give me a thumbs up if the mic's going pretty good. I'm going to turn it up a little bit because I'm watching my super audio bubbles, my wavers kind of shift in and out. We're going to keep going on anyway. Going back to the biological hijack, all right? This is an emotion, okay? And the emotion affects the physical. It's not just a soul alone motion, just mental or a sentimental value or a feeling or an emotion of I love them or an emotion of fear or an emotion of anxiety, it becomes physical too. It becomes physical because the brain allows it to become physical. It affects the body, heart rate, dopamine, endorphins, central nervous system. So now it's changing the biological makeover, the nature in the moment of the one that is the psychologically oppressed or the psychological abuse victim. Traumatic bonding can actually hijack the brain. It's a reward and a service for the one that is the offender. And some offenders out there are very well versed at psychological mayhem, mischief, and abuse that the offender already knows this. If they can, in layman terms, get the disruption in the brain, the disruption in emotion, the body's going to follow suit. It's kind of like being on an African safari. Everything's great. You're in the woods. You're seeing things that you've never seen before. The giraffe, the hyena, the whatever creature out there on 4 legs, 3 legs, 6 legs, whatever it may be. I don't know, spiders, 6 legs, 8 legs. But now suddenly the abuser comes up. The great tiger. The great tiger doesn't know you. The great tiger doesn't want to eat you. You're just in the great tiger's neighborhood. Now suddenly the body locks up. The dopamine, the endorphins, the fight or flight. The body freezes. The body's not going to do anything. It is the same exact thing, but you're flipping the scenario to another abuser, somebody else with more dominant power, and they realize it, and they're going to use it psychologically. Now, I'm not saying all men are dominant over females, okay? Because I know some women that'll pick up a dude and break him in half, all right? Typically, female SERE instructors. But the way it works, the dominant one in the relationship, not ships, plural, 2 people, the ships, got to recognize this and see this. Now, I know some of you listening to this show, you're like, yeah, I know somebody. I've seen somebody like that. I actually know a person like that. I know a couple like that. I was in a relationship like that. I've got out of a relationship because of that very same reason. Well, you can't deny it when it exists. Recent research, and there are 2 researchers, Dutton and Painter, they started back in 1993, and, people have jumped on top of their research, all the way up to 2024. Don't want to use 25, 26 or anything because, not enough time for peer review. But the biological, hijack, the relief felt when the abuse cycle stops. It releases the dopamine, but yet the abuse cycle stops temporary when the victim still stays in the relationship. That dopamine can still ease, but the adrenaline, the dopamine heighten is still there in the brain for that emergency push, which makes the biological hijacking still a prevalent problem in the relationship. Well, it's calmed down. They've stopped. They're not verbally abusing me anymore. There's no psychological trauma. Now I'm allowed to go to the store by myself. I'm being told things that are great that I want to hear. It's conformity. It's the manipulator of the slot machine. Think of the casino and think of the slot machine. Think of the guy or the girl that's the slot machine mechanic coming in to service the slot machine, to make it work better, to make it smoother, to make, clean the little ball in the rod so you don't, catch hepatitis A, B, D, or death from the ball. Why? Why would I say that? Get up, go to the bathroom, hurry up, get back, grab the ball. Let's not clean up properly. I always tell everybody the best part of the Olympics is the skin cells in the pool. Best part is the body parts that those Olympians are eating every time they dive in with that mouth open. It's all good. So the biological pretext, biologically, you become addicted to the calm periods. Yeah, one becomes addicted. The anxiety of attachment, it's a relief now. There's no anxiety of once I cut it loose because things are calming down. I don't have to cut it loose now. I don't have to worry about it because things are calming down. The period of stability with the relationships together, not the relationship singular. It's 2 people, multiple people. Hey, let's be for real here, okay? You have relationships that involve more than 2 people. It's 2026. Jump on social media and find spectacular groups of threesomes and foursomes that live together and have the same lifestyle as a 2-way relationship. Okay. And it goes both heterosexual and non-heterosexual, LGBTQ. It is the same in society, regardless of where you go. It is psychological abuse. So don't think, here on this show that we're just focusing on heterosexual. No, it's universal. It's human. Kind of like man's inhumanity toward mankind. It doesn't, there's no selection of gender, race, creed, or religion or type. Other focal points on psychological abuse. Yep. The sunk cost. Yes, I said sunk cost. S-U-N-K. Sunk like a boat. Coast. C-O-S-T. Not the coast of a country, but the investment model. The sunk cost. Yeah, coast. C-O-S-T. Now, I know some people are saying, oh, that's the sunk cost. No. You're paying the cost, but you're coasting on the relationship. You're coasting. The weight, the costs, you're still there. So you're coasting around looking for the cost, C-O-S. That's what you're doing. You're not really investing in anything. You're holding on to it. You're holding on to that invisible tether again, grabbing that slot machine wheel, hoping that the repairman will come fix it again. It's like putting money in a house that's falling apart. Anybody ever seen that movie? What's that movie with Tom Hanks where they put money, and they buy this house, and it just the more money they put into it, the more damage and the more money they have to put into it? Yeah, you bought a beat-up house. You bought something to where you need Bob Vila in this whole house, but Bob Vila in this whole house is not even going to be able to fix the relationship or the house because it's so sunk in the coasting method of you coasting around the same pond, and the cost is getting higher and higher every day. You're performing something that is creating more psychological damage and is going to create more biological hijacking of you as an individual. And remember, it's not directed toward a specific gender or lifestyle. Heterosexual, not heterosexual, LGBTQ, race, religion, age, group, subculture, culture. Ships, people. How do you make people? Male and a female. Carnal knowledge, sexual intercourse, multiple races, multiple creeds, multiple religions, the same aesthetic of psychological abuse across the platform of the globe. Yeah, I know. Hurts people's feelings to think that, their specific group in society is, not the one that this guy specifically talking about. It's a blanket. Covers everything. So you're like putting money into that falling apart house. You don't want to leave it. You've invested so much. You've put so much into it. You're just going to coast around the pool, hoping the water doesn't disappear. Hoping the pool walls do not crack. Hoping you can coast and float around the edge. So the cost is you. You're the cost. You're the one putting the effort in it. You're the one putting the money in it. You're the one that's having to work the job to put money into the old broken house to hopefully fix it back up, but it just costs more and more and more, and you're just spinning wheels in the mud and you're getting nowhere. The sunk cost along the coast of the relationship. The ships, the coast. That's you. Well, I hope it's not you. But if you're in that type of relationship, and that's what you're doing, trying to fix the old broken house. Yeah, you're the coaster, and the cost is you. You're costing yourself. Victims think that it's about the years spent, the time spent, the quality, the shared memories, the good, the bad, the energy invested, the emotion, making it feel like leaving would mean all of it was for nothing. Well, it's not. It's a growing experience. Leave. Get out of it. Seek help. Seek friends. Seek those that would truly stand by you. Not just ones like, yeah, I'm your friend, I'm your buddy, but that's not my business. I'm watching it happen. I'm seeing it happen, but it's not my business. The time invested, the love, the investment, the years. Everybody's lost something that was an investment profile. Time, work, abuse, love, emotion. And fortunately, you're still here. Or unfortunately, some people aren't. But for those that are still here, guess what? You're still here. Let dead things die. Let things in the past stay in the past. Now, everybody's been through that trauma period of trying to get over it. It takes time. You have to adapt. You have to change. Attention getters, you have to reinvest. And at that point in time, it's hard to hear that the cost you gave, being you, it's time to reinvest in that cost, which would be you. Yep, commitment levels too. Commitment levels override happiness. Yes. How many of you have a job that's great? You got the money. You love going to it. No, you hate it. But the happiness, oh my gosh. I would rather have money versus love. I would rather have money and a great job versus companionship or friends or a life. But you hate the job because it pays so well. It's the same exact thing. You're holding on to the handle of the slot machine. Now, take that and compare it to a relationship. I've invested so much. They're worth investing in more because they can change. The commitment level overrides the happiness because the victim is in a state of psychological denial that the person has a chance to change, but yet when the person doesn't recognize that they're the problem, they're the cause of the psychological abuse, there's the cost. Sipping around the coast of the relationship that's failing. Yeah, relationships are more actual, conflict, argumentative. Why? It's two ships. Two ships cannot occupy the same space of water. Water displaces, but yet there's water underneath the ship, but the water displaces. But two ships can't occupy it. But one would argue, yes, they can, on top of each other, but it displaces the water and disturbs. So there's a problem there. That's why it's a relationship of two ships. The coast, the cost. I know. Some of you are getting confused, saying, this guy's rattling about BS. No, really think about your own life. Really think about your own past relationships and how long you sailed the coast and you were the cost and hoping it was going to be robust again. It was going to, override into a happiness. And it didn't. And that forever creates a psychological pressure to honor the commitment clause. Yeah. Are you going to honor the commitment? You've spent so much time here, so much energy, the commitment clause. Even when the situation has become, I hate to say it, dangerous, physically abusive, people still stay. The override, the cost, the weight. Who's going to want me? Who's going to take me, knowing that I've put up with this, that I've self-tormented myself, that I've allowed myself to stay here, that I've allowed myself to be the victim of this. Now, let's not lie about this either. Victims know that other people see what's going on. Victims know that other people know what's going on. The offenders, the bad people, the ones that perform the psychological abuse, do boast on it. They do speak of it. They do brag on it in specific sociological atmospheres, in specific sociological constructs. Those constructs and those sociological atmospheres of other abusers happens. It's kind of like, criminal gang members hang out with criminal gang members. They're not going to hang out with the police unless they're, there's a reason to. That IC number, confidential informant, or you have no choice. The police came and picked you up and got you, so you got to hang out with them for a bit to share information. That infraredous circle of, continued communication. The same thing in a psychological abuse situation. It happens. It's not a forever clause. One can choose to step out of it, but the honor commitment is still there because you want to be the one that's showing character, emotion. Even though I'm abused, I'm the one with true emotion, true character. I'm the one that's truly committed. I can fix them. Can you? How long have you been committed? How long have you been the cost at the coast of the edge of the relationship with the other ship, trying to occupy the same space of water? It hasn't been working out for you too well, has it? We're not going to ask anybody to put comments or thumbs up in the chat or, anything like that because it's a sensitive topic, especially since today is the romance weekend. And what a day. Hey, I never thought about that, for the researchers, that are watching this. I know some of them are watching right now and some of them are going to watch it later, but I never thought about this or put this together. It is February the 13th, and tomorrow is the day of love and hearts and pink plush little heart devils and little brown doo-doo devils, little stuffed animals. Yes, some people get glorious gifts. Yeah, I got mine a kind of pinkish purple red heart devil stuffed animal and a brown doo-doo one. Why? Because our dog, every now and then, leaves a gift of, I love you, I'm committed to your floor. Perception. We perceive things differently. Every one of us. And it's not just gender. It's just not, culture, subculture, race, religion. Everyone perceives things different. Research in the past has found that, the high commitment levels predict staying in an abusive relationship more than actual happiness does. Predictive levels, override levels. We perceive things different. So if we perceive things different, we see the cause and the need and the will to stay in ourselves. The cause and the need and the will to stay in ourselves. We're not recognizing the potential harm that we're inflicting on ourselves. Self-victimization. The perception view. Victims are more often than others to refuse to bow out. There aren't any better options out there for me. I'm here. Who's going to want me? Whether it's due to age, appearance, social status, the victim will still stay. And that's a problem. Why is that a problem? Because those that are the supporting venue of society, those that are the outreach, those that are the, hey, I'm your friend, I'm here for, all of this, but I'm seeing it, but it's not my business. I should not intervene. Well, you're aiding the cost at the coast. You're keeping the hand on the wheel of the victim of the slot machine, or I said wheel, right? A little pulley knob. What is that called? A knob? Like a truck? Like a flag? I don't know. But you're helping. Yeah. The moral and religious obligation. Oh my goodness. This guy broke it off, didn't he? The moral and religious obligation. The strub. Yeah, that means the commitment under obligations of religions. Something that was, really argued in like the 1980s, the highlights that, religious and moral beliefs supersede all. The factor of the investment, not just the physical person that stays and, puts up with the psychological abuse, but the culture, the society, the subculture, the aspects of one shall follow the structure of a specific religious doctrine, edict, rhetoric, or whatever it may be. So now someone sees the light, struggles for the bond, but the bond is still that invisible tether. It's not going to change. So the victim stays there. The victim doesn't leave because of the perceived obligation in the relationship. Many people, in society view marriage as a sacred vow. I vow to say your vows, write your vows. In the wedding, so-and-so is going to say their vows to each other. But you write them down. You remember them. You rehearse them in the mirror. Those of you that don't speak well in front of people, you maybe have a few friends. Hey, listen to me say this so I don't sound crazy or ridiculous or look like a buffoon. Or you have the card right in front of your face because you can't remember it. You want the impression, the verbal commitment, the investment for everybody to see and everybody to know, but suddenly those vows are gone. Garbage flushed down the toilet, kind of like the word respect. There's no dignity. It's gone. Yep, the vows. Breaking the vows feel like that moral failure. And those that understand the moral failure is there sometimes choose to, as religion would say, turn the other cheek. The marriage. It's a physical commitment. It's a mental commitment. It's not just on that piece of paper that you got signed in that courtroom with all those cool stamps and people watching the blood tests or whatever the, required steps are for you to get married wherever you're at in the United States or worldwide. And I say worldwide because we have 392 downloads of all of this documentation in 40 days, 5,253 views in 40 days. Well, it's good to see there are that many people that are actually still interested in academic curriculum and download the material. But it's good to see they're there, but it's not good to see that society itself recognizes the investments, sees it, and allows psychological abuse to still happen. So breaking that vow within a relationship, most human beings feel the moral failure, the endurance of psychological abuse to protect the sensitivity of integrity. Yeah, the sensitivity of integrity. Doing what you're supposed to do when no one's looking. The sensitivity of it. Who's going to see me violate? Am I doing what I'm supposed to be doing? Am I stepping outside of the religious scope of the standards of practice? Well, some people may have to. And then there are those that are so confined and so strict in the belief that being the cost at the coast must stay. Well, in this guy's book, that's you being the supporter of psychological abuse yourself. Congratulations. We call that in the CJ system what? What do we call it? It's a accessory. Yeah. You know what's happening before, during, and after. It's kind of like being the driver of the car at the bank. The one that goes in the bank robbery, kills the teller, bank robbery, and not just murder, capital murder. So is the driver now. Who drove the killer? I know. This guy's like really making me angry, involving religion in this. Hey, it happens. It's not a no-touchy situation. It's not an invisible fence or an invisible wall that psychological abuse cannot penetrate. It happens. The fear of loss. Yeah, the fear of loss. The explanation. So let's get the fear of loss explained that, well, just, it's not just about what you've put in, but what you lose when you walk away. The investment model. Yeah, we know we've put time in, like the old house. We've got 10 years in this. We've got tradition. We've got history. Well, you've also got a tradition and a history of the psychological abuse, verbal abuse, mental abuse. And even if it hasn't grown up to be the physical abuse, you still know it's there. You put up with it. You accepted it for a sociological pretext or your own individual pretext, your own cost. You're dilapidated. You have nothing else to pay out. Your cost has costed out. So why start over? The fear of loss of what you have and the fear of getting something started again, even if you choose yourself. How are you going to recoup yourself? How are you going to rebuild yourself? The family unit, the shared lifestyle, it's going to be gone. The potential loss outweighs the current pain. Yeah, the potential loss. Losing it. Good grief. You'd rather hurt? You'd rather go through more psychological endeavors of damage, of others destructing you? Yeah, others destructing you. Destruction. Yeah, basically that's what they're doing. Destructuring. Destructuring your humanity. Destructuring your self-esteem. Destructuring your ability to perform. Destructuring your ability to love yourself. Oh, destructure. I know. This guy's using words that we're not used to. Yeah. Are all professors and PhD guys like that? No, not all of them. Just me. So, hope you're having a good time watching this. We're going to talk about a few more things. I know it's Friday afternoon. Everybody's looking forward to I Love You, Hug You Day. Yeah. It's all good. Enjoy that day. Enjoy that weekend. But remember, this stuff exists too. Somebody's out there, I don't know, suffering the cost of the coast of wrath under somebody's psychological abuse. It's probably happening right now while they're least expecting it, you know. Learned helplessness. Okay, this is a class concept, all right? It's a classical concept. When someone is beaten down psychologically for so long and so much, they just stop trying. The helplessness. Why bother? I've tried before. It doesn't, I've tried. The only way I know to get out. Now I'm just going to lay here and be psychologically beat down. Taught, instilled, learned helplessness. Thus, the abuser is instilling worthlessness, instilling a lack of self-worth, a lack of self-esteem, a lack of resilience, a lack of self-endurance of the model of time. for psychological abuse. It's the learned hopelessness that's been taught. It's kind of like during Christmas, you see the ASPCA commercials to where, the same kitten has been in the commercial for 8 years as a kitten. Okay, guys, it's time to change with some new cats, right? Everybody knows what I'm talking about. Those that watch this video, you're like, yeah, I've seen that. Yeah, it's the same dog like 6 years in a row. Same cat. Great. We had, sympathy and feelings 5 years ago. Put a new model up. But in the world of this, compared to that, it's learned hopelessness. Something needs help. Something is beat down so hard. We're not talking about physically beat down so hard. We're talking about the human psychosis, the human psyche. Mania will not even happen. Now, if you go back and you watch, criminal development, criminal, behavior and mental illness, we covered the other night, mania. There's not even room for mania to envelop because the realm of helplessness surrounds the victim. Mania for what? What are you going to psychosis erupt for? Everything's been taken away. The lifestyle is destroyed. The friends are gone. The groups are gone. The chaos is accepted. The chaos is instilled. The chaos is daily. That one that has learned helplessness learns that no matter what one does, the outcome is always the same. And what did we say at the opening of the show? Insanity. Continued repetition of something that does not work. Insanity. Insane. Helplessness. Let's go ahead and accept the insanity of it and the chaos and live in it continuous. Learned helplessness. But yet the learned helplessness was instilled. Sometimes even forced. Yeah. That's a whole topic for another show. Yep. The cognitive ability, the cognitive defiance. It's all there. Distorted decision making. Now, with learned helplessness, distorted decision making happens. All right. One has to understand that, decision making is a review. It's a review of what you've experienced, what you felt when you responded, the results of your response, the inforaneous, right? Knowledge level, repetition, what you've done. It's not an impromptu. You've seen it. It's a distorted level now. How cognition distorts the environment that we're in. I remember what I did. Faulty thinking, faulty pattern. I can't think of anything better. So now my faulty thinking is keeping me in this situation. The effect of decision making. Victims minimize the abuse or take responsibility for it. Ooh, I'm at fault. It's me. It's my fault. I triggered this. I triggered this semantic or empathetic moment or episodic moment. Implicit, explicit. Wrong. That is called distorted decision-making and coaching. Distorted decision-making that is instilled by the abuser. I know. And I'd like to be 100% up, front here. There's an abuser probably going to watch this show or somebody that does practice psychological abuse. They will argue all day long. No, that's not true. Oh, yeah, it is. It is true. Yeah. The distorted decision-making is aided. And why would someone be in the position of distorted decision-making about psychological abuse unless there's a psychological abuser there aiding and constructing the distorted decision-making skills and practices? Argue that, distorted decision-maker assisters. I didn't say sisters, assisters. So, distorted, decision-making, it's torn apart. It doesn't work anymore. It's that insanity circle. Yeah, if I just don't make them angry again, it won't happen. If I just conform, if I just follow the stepping blocks that the abuser has put in front of me, not have my own, not stray out. Yep, not stray out. I spent the morning putting together a new PC unit. New screens, new stuff, high speed, even more high speed than my gig. Yep. Decision making. Well, you got to decision make whether, hey, it's the ships. One's success is the other's. So you would figure out what my Valentine's gift was. A new PC, screens, verticals, flat screens, big ones, new system, new showroom. Not mine. So You got to recognize what it is. Now, I'm not saying this guy's perfect, but I'm saying that distorted making decision, skill is not being enforced by this guy. Not. It's kind of that, hey, let's talk about worth and self-ability. I'll help. Let me be the guy that does what he likes doing, putting all the cool stuff together. You make it look good. Kind of like my researchers. Speaking of the researchers, bam, there they are. They put it together. Decision making. I make them look good. But they make me look good. Because without the researchers and the information, this guy wouldn't look good. Of course, this guy could do it on his own, but that would be a single ship, wouldn't it? That's not the relationships of professional, scholarly building. Man, self-blame and guilt. Oh, yes. Yep. Arias versus Pape, P-A-P-E, 1999. That's classical stuff for sociology and psychology, especially for CJ people that, focus on special victims. Stuff from that era still applies today. The E.G. Build citation. Okay, the psychological abuse specifically targets a victim's self-esteem and self-worth. That's the fastest way to break someone. Self-esteem, self-worth. You can't fight your way out of this. You can't get out. Nobody wants you. There's no value to you. Yeah, you're never going to be successful. You tried. Remember when you tried? You failed. You came running back to me, the pristine abuser. Yeah. That is the self-blame and the self-guilt. Instilling it, teaching it. That would be the development of distorted decision-making. Someone's helping you. Someone's helping the victim make that distorted decision of they're worthless. The abuser projects blame onto the victim until the victim accepts it and believes that he or she is the fault of all of it. Every bit of it. The continued psychological abuse from day one to now. Yep, it's all you. You believe you deserve the treatment. The victim is you. You believe it because somebody is out there congestively convincing you of cognitive dissonance, creating the cognitive dissonance and the mental stress that you hold on to. You're holding on to it. They're creating it and you're grabbing it like a rat on a net trying to get back up on the ship. Yeah, because you're still developing self-blame and guilt when it has nothing to do with you. You're just the one that's allowing themselves to be the victim. Awareness and reality and unreal reality. Awareness, reality, and unreal reality in psychological abuse. There's a difficulty process, okay? The difficulty of naming the abuse. How are you going to tag it? How are you going to give it a name? It's psychological. Psychological has multi-plateaus, multi-constructs, multi-topics. There are so many psychological endeavors that one could distort verbally with so much content over so many discussed items, so many relative theories, race, creed, religion, gender, identity, whatever you choose. Your food sucked. It tastes like something that I wouldn't even feed my dog. Why are you cooking? You shouldn't be cooking for anyone. What, you thought you could cook when you got into this relationship with me? Something just like that. Naming it. What is that? Psychological cook abuse? Psychological culinary death? We've all seen it on TV, social media, that's just an example. It's so bad I wouldn't give it to my dog. I don't know, my dogs will eat anything, especially my wolves. Hell, doesn't matter what it is. Tastes good, tastes bad. It's edible, it's gone. Naming the abuse is a huge hurdle, okay? Psychological abuse leaves and no bruise that you can see. It's not a physical bruise. It's not a contusion. It's definitely not a laceration or a, sharp instrument incised wound. It's not blunt force trauma. Psychological. You point out that there's often research. I said but research, points out that there's a lack of awareness because behavior is subtle. The response is subtle. Even those that are abused have subtle reflex, subtle response, and they hide it. They distort it. They accept, gaslighting, the silence of sarcasm, the narcissist theory of it's all you that caused this. It's your fault that I'm the psychological abuser. You know, some of you may want to tune in tomorrow evening on this CJTV. Narcissism, part 2. The sociological side, not the political side that we did, with CJ and sociology and psychology and the political, but this is part 2. The more narcissist that lives in your world. Yes, you. Whoever you are watching this, the narcissist that lives in your world. Now, and you may know a narcissist that is a psychological abuser too. And guys, it's not just what some would think that we're talking about right here, an intimate relationship, boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, sex. No. Nuh-uh. What about standard family members? Father, son, brother, sister, friend. I've known that person for 20 years. They're my buddy. And you're still in the ships of relationship status with them, and they treat you that way. That's a big confusion factor for society. Society thinks that psychological abuse and, intimate abuse or intimate partner abuse has to be something that's involving a romantic interlude. No. Heck no. It's common. Male, friends, lifetime friends. Female, lifetime friends. LGBTQ friends. All kinds of stuff. Let me see. I got something. I love to join your streams whenever you're streaming. Add me on Discord. Yeah, whatever. Join Snatchbait. No, we're not doing Discord. Discord's got too much political server language and we'll talk freely. Garbage. So, no, that's something I'll stay away from. Thanks for that little send of something that I will avoid. Yeah, that's something that's called, I don't know, let me see, not distorted decision making. I'll stay away from that. All right, the unreal reality, the adolescent warning, so to say. Adolescents can see the warning signs. If a child can see it, if a child can see the emotional abuse, why can't an adult? It's kind of crazy, isn't it? Children get upset. Children cry. Children huddle down in the corner in the fetal position when it's happening. Your dogs see it. Your cats see it. Anybody ever been in a place where there's a dog that, goes down to the, submissive position because people are arguing? Animals see it. The doubt, the confusion, the fact that the victim is often living with a constant state of fear and doubt. So-and-so's home now. The atmosphere shifts. It's not physical blunt force trauma, it's mental. The decision-making period for yourself is over. The dominance is here now. The decision maker for you is now here. Yeah. The comfort, the paralyzing effect, being aware that harm isn't enough anymore. Yeah, harm isn't enough anymore. The one that is giving the abuse has to escalate it. There's got to be a simultaneously stimulating event for the one giving the actual psychological abuse. You're being told that your awareness is wrong. If you're the victim, you're wrong. That's a level of stimuli. You can't tell me I'm doing this. You're wrong. Now I'm going to increase. It's kind of like the force continuum in law enforcement. Increase times 2, Increase times 1. Officer discretion. Psychological discretion. Yeah, recognizing how to see these things. All right, let's talk about a few things real quick. We're going to cover like one more thing, but then we'll cover it after we cover this. Simplistically, we load all of our research onto Mediafire, and right up top, right up here, Facebook, Dr. Mike Gurley, CJTV, lowercase j TV. Find it, friend it. This is not our social good time post pictures page like most people, Facebook. This is, purely academic. It is monitored, we keep it, professional and academic, but this is where we post the majority of all of our work. This is where we post the majority of all of our white papers for dissemination, our research, our flow. And so far, 392. Man, that's a lot. 392. Let me open this up. All right. This is the actual server. So this is everything that, PDF format. This is kind of what it looks like, but you're not going to see this. You'll see the file on the Facebook page. even of this one, we'll, get this one uploaded, sometime today, and it'll be out there. But this stuff gets downloaded, and it gets downloaded not just in the United States, because, I can see, what country it's going to, IP push for a server or a node, but I can't identify, Bob, John, Tina, Joy. No, it doesn't give me that, but it's going all over the world in different countries, which is kind of impressive, because it, kind of shows me that the researchers are on top of their game, and the information that they're putting together that I present here is critically important. So do me a favor, go there if you're a developing scholar, or if you're interested in the actual information that we're giving. And we can't give all of it in a short amount of time. If I was to be here with all of the information, especially for this episode and the white papers and everything that we've, got in here to upload, this show would be 8-9 hours long. It would be all day. And it's definitely not a substitute for a classroom, a university, or a specific college at a university of, behavioral sciences, or, behavioral, whatever it would be, arts and/or sciences. So that's kind of the deal of it, just kind of let everybody see. But it's on Facebook. We also put stuff too on Indeed, just because it's a little bit more professional. Well, it's actually a lot more, professional based than the Facebook, but the Facebook has more popularity to it. Not dissing, pro or conning any of them. You guys know how it works, especially those that use both. One platform is for the other, and one platform is for the other, so to say. It's the ships of media, one for one and one for the other. So we're going to close this out with simply the leaving process. Now, the economic process and the structure has a lot to do with the leaving process, but we're not going to cover the economic structure because we don't have any economic specialists here for leaving a psychologically abusive relationship. Now, if you know anybody that's an economic expert about self-recovery for leaving an abusive relationship, doesn't necessarily have to be, psychologically like we're talking about here. We didn't, really want to focus on the physical abuse, just the psychological abuse, because sometimes the physical abuse just gets too intimate for people to handle outside of the academic classroom. For something like this, social media. I know everybody thinks, oh, yeah, we can deal with it. We see stuff all the time. Oh, you'd be amazed how much hate mail we would get for doing that. We haven't gotten any yet. All the mail we get is pretty positive. It's more like a, hey, thanks for doing this. Thanks for popping that out there. Yep. And trust me, we enjoy doing it. All right. The leaving loop. The leaving loop. The leaving loop is a word, all right? Victims often leave and return multiple times. The leaving loop. Yeah, you go, you come back. You go, you come back. You go, you come back. You go. Each time they learn something new or greater to give, the victim learns to build more strength. Oh, I can leave again. I did it. I can leave again. I'm coming back. I'll give it one more shot. Well, I'm going to leave again because it's the same. So I've got more strength to leave now. It's a loop. It's a continued loop of circular over and over again. Insanity. Remember the loop? Repeating it. It doesn't work. The need, the view, the return is what the victim wants. The victim wants to see the possibility of, I've overcome my previous failure, so I'll be back and try it again. But it's a single step in a long journey towards permanent separation or permanent self-worth or permanent safety. But the leaving loop is unfortunately part of human choice, select, cognitive theory, rationalization choice theory. Yeah, rationalization theory and rationalization choice theory are two different things. The loop is continuous. Now, a lot of people that watch this show or know somebody, after, reflecting on this show, know someone that's did the leaving loop. Why are you back with them? Oh, they're better. Why are you back with them? Oh, they made me a promise. Why are you back with them? Oh, this excuse. So-and-so is back with so-and-so. Why? I don't know. They said this. They're doing this. It's not an eventful journey. The leaving process. It's just time ill spent because the psychological safety plan takes months or even years, and you're busting down the months and years of future or present work in the leaving loop process. You spend 6 weeks building safety plans. Now you've leaving looped and went back, and you've just might as well take gasoline and pour it on all of your work. This old house, you're throwing money back into it again, and you can't fix it, But you're back in the leaving loop. Yep. The sustained separation. The hardship. Yeah, the hardest part, it's not necessarily walking out of the door. It's the staying out, staying away. The addiction to it. Yeah, it can be addictive. You speak with, most victims of psychological abuse or physical abuse. Sometimes it's not, self-sadomasochist. It's you're addicted because that's what life is. That's what you're used to. It's kind of like someone that grows up in a culture where violence, domestic violence is okay. It's acceptable. The leaving loop is on. You should leave. You should get out of the environment, but it's acceptable now. Can't stay out of the door. The psychological part of the relationship combined with the harassment from the abuser makes sustaining sense because you've been in it so long. The sustaining separation, the act, that becomes a battle. That becomes the harder war. That becomes the harder fight. The act, the battle of walking through the door and staying out of the doorway. Not executing that leaving loop. The sustainment of anti-leaving loop. I like that. The sustainment of anti-leaving loop. I like that. Write that down. I like that. Yeah, I'm sure we could find it somewhere. Yep. It's been an awesome show. We don't want to corrupt the giant 14th V-Day, but it's kind of odd how this fell into place because there are some that are in the leaving loop. There are some that are in the hardship of the invisible tether, still pulling the casino racket wheel, hoping it's going to change. Well, it can change. You're just the one that has to actually step up and seek the help. Now, we know it's not always going to be capable you by yourself alone. That's the reason of having those real people that are real friends, real constituents, real peers, real ones that are going to not be there with you, but be 10 steps ahead of you, in front of you, making sure you do not jump back into the leaving loop, making sure you're not on the coast as the cost, waiting for the dams to rupture, because you're constantly sailing with that ship that's occupying your water space. Water density, right? All right. My researchers, thank you much. There they are again. There they are. The dominant Z, Zena, Dylan, and Chloe. Yep, I'm clicking it off. That's their email right up there. Of course, you guys, UTM. Some of you could figure out. I'm not circulating or advertising for anybody, but, go UTM. That's where they're at. If you got any comments, questions, down here right below the ticker in the title, drmikeleeg@gmail.com. We're on Facebook, Rumble, Kick, X, and YouTube. Yeah, I know, TikTok. We haven't really done anything on TikTok. Chloe. I know, we haven't really done anything on TikTok yet. Chloe. So, it's the reason we got TikTok. It's because of Chloe. So, as soon as that, gets taken care of by Chloe, we'll get some stuff on TikTok. I'm not a TikTok entrepreneur. I really don't know nothing about it. So that'll be, we'll make sure that that's the job and taken care of responsibility of Chloe. All right, everybody. I've said Chloe enough already. I appreciate that. So have a great weekend. Have a great Valentine's Day. And remember, if you need any assistance, there are plenty of agencies and plenty of local groups that can help you. If you do need help, email me, drmikeleeg@gmail.com, or one of the actual researchers, and we'll make it our first priority to make sure that you get what you need. Please download the research if you want to review it and read it. Other than that, have a great Valentine's weekend. Yes, the red chocolates and the brown chocolates. Have a good day.